Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Negotiations continued yesterday between District Council 33, which represents 9,000 striking workers, and Mayor Sherelle Parker's administration. So as of now, residential trash pickup and other city services are still suspended. What's a resident of the city supposed to do with all that trash? Does using a city dumpster make you a scab? And when is this all going to end? I'm Matt Katz, executive producer of CityCast Philly, sitting in for our host, Trenae Nuri, who's out this week. In today's show, I'm speaking with Danny Bauder. He's the president of the Philadelphia Council AFL-CIO, which the District Council 33 union is a part of. It's Wednesday, July 9th, and here's what every Philadelphian is smelling right now. So the city is a mess right now, right? I mean, trash is piling up everywhere. And part of your messaging, part of the AFL-CIO messaging has been that one thing that Philadelphians should not be doing in order to support the strike is to not use the city dumping sites. And just wondering, I mean, are Philadelphians who throw out their own trash, are we scabs for doing so?
So, yeah. The short answer is no. You, Matt, if you're taking your trash to one of the sites, you are not individually as a scab. But unfortunately, what you're participating in unknowingly is scabbing, because sanitation workers are on strike. They're not processing waste and recycling that comes into the sanitation sites. People who are not members of District Council 33 are doing that work. And so there are people who are actively scabbing the jobs of union members who are under a collective bargaining agreement. And so, that is behavior that we discourage.
The contractors that the city is hiring to empty these dumpsters, that would be a more explicit action of scabbing, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
And what happened there? I mean, the city basically, once the strike began, they contracted with these outside trash haulers, and they're coming in and they're emptying these dumpsters?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I was at a sanitation site with the general president of AFSCME over the whole union. Lee Saunders is in Philadelphia to visit with striking workers. There were people behind the gate working, so I don't know if they were sorting through recyclables or loading up a truck or something. You could hear the machinery and the noise and things like that. But, those are folks that are not city employees. They're not part of that infrastructure, part of that system. And, they're doing work that should be being done by the folks that have been hired to do it.
So what should Philadelphians who are in support of sanitation workers and these thousands of other workers making a living wage and being able to afford to live in the city, Philadelphians who support that sentiment, what could they be doing to support this strike? And from an action standpoint, and then also from a trash standpoint?
Yeah, so sanitation workers and the trash situation is clearly the most apparent issue related to the strike, or as the strike goes on, just because it's very noticeable. But we have crossing guards on strike. We have Department of Revenue workers on strike who process city payments. We have water department workers on strike that are very key to our city's infrastructure. And so all of the workers that are on strike, the best things that you can do to support them and to show them that you support them would be visit a local picket line. If you can, bring something for them, food or water or ice, if you can, to go and visit them, or just join them on the picket line. If you don't have anything you can bring with you, or maybe you just happen to spot them while you're driving from A to B, take a minute, join the picket line, introduce yourself, let them know that you're a neighbor and that you support them and that you want to act in solidarity with these workers. And that'll go a long way. That'll deliver a lot of energy to these striking workers and give them a real boost. And so that's absolutely something that you can do. The other thing you can do would be to call your member of council, your district member of council, and say, I'm so-and-so from this block, and I'm really upset about this, and I want to register that with my elected representative so that, this is something that they're carrying with them as they're having conversations with the administration about the strike.
And then what do we do with our trash?
I can tell you what I did. I went to my local hardware store, Stanley's on Ridge Avenue. Shout out to Stanley's, and got 2 very large 36-gallon trash cans to just add to the trash can collection next to my house. That's what I did. Eventually,
to keep it sealed and to keep it protected from rodents. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and these cans are too big to put out on the curb. In the city, we can only have cans up to a certain size that you go out on the curb. So I'm not going to be able to use these a lot in the future, but that's what I did. Other folks I know are just putting it on the curb until the time comes. I think that the folks that are out there on the neighborhood Facebook groups offering to haul your trash away, that kind of falls more into the scab territory again. But I'm not telling you to put it in your house. I'm certainly not going to do that. But their trash and recycling needs to be picked up by sanitation workers who are members of District Council 33. And until they get a fair contract, they're going to be on strike.
And this is obviously a fast-moving, changing situation. But as of now, where are we with negotiations? How far apart are these two sides? From your perspective, what are really the sticking points going on right now?
Well, I can tell you, like I said, that I visited that one workplace not too long ago. I heard President Greg Boulware of District Council 33 answering some of these very questions. So, as of this conversation that we're having today, Matt, I know that the two sides met on Saturday for a number of hours, but the city's wage proposal remains the same. So that's to say that, and this is probably helpful for your listeners who may not be familiar with how these sorts of negotiations work. The city and District Council 33 first started meeting in January of 2025. The contract expired on July 1st at 12:01. So what happens in this process, typically in union negotiations, is that one side will make a proposal about a particular issue. The other side has an opportunity to review the proposal and make a counter proposal. Many times, particularly in mundane things, the counter proposals are very small language changes. And instead of this, can we say that? Those sorts of things. But they change is what I'm saying, is that they're either adopted whole cloth or they're modified and changed. And so District Council 33 began negotiations around wages, looking for an 8% increase each year of the 3 years of the contract. And so since they've been on strike and they've been meeting again, District Council 33 has adjusted their wage proposal from 8% each year over 3 years to 5%. Would in our world, we would call it, we'd say 555 or 888, sort of the lingo.
Danny, this was something that caught a lot of, maybe almost all Philadelphians, by surprise. I mean, people did not know this was even in the works under real consideration before it actually happened. Can you give a little history here about maybe what else was tried by the union to avoid this work stoppage? This is a drastic step that DC 33 took here. Were there other attempts to get a contract that was more fair to the workers? Were there other actions that were taken or considered? We didn't just get to this point out of nowhere.
No, you're right, Matt. We didn't. I don't want to say, when it started specifically, because sometimes these things, started 30 years ago. But what I would say, specifically is last October, District Council 33 was in bargaining with the city for what became that 1 year contract. At the time, Greg Boulware, the president of District Council 33, was trying to bargain a multi-year contract, not a single year contract, trying to bargain a 3 or a 4 year contract, which is more akin to what the municipal unions typically have. And at that time, 33 took a strike vote in October of 2024. And I was there when they did it. And it was overwhelmingly in favor of going on strike, and, at that time, 9 months ago. And so I would say that's where we started. We started with a union that was motivated and mobilized and was itself paying attention to the ongoing negotiations with the city. And they have done a good job of keeping the membership informed every step of the way, leading towards what could be another strike vote and then potentially actually going out on strike. And so District Council 33 had announced that they were going to take a strike vote in June of 2025 and did that. They had a press conference about it. And then on Monday, June 30th, a week ago, they had another rally/press conference in the City Hall courtyard with the rain pouring outside, with hundreds of members, if not thousands, standing outside of the courtyard. And once again said, if we don't reach a deal for a fair contract, we're going to go on strike at midnight. For anyone observing this, the administration, other unions, anyone, this is, you hear that and see that and you say, well, that's their rhetoric, they're rallying the troops, they're appealing to their base, they are circling the wagons, whatever your metaphor may be. But you have to know at some point, if they take the vote and they say, here's the deadline, when we get to it, we're going to go on strike, you got to take them kind of at face value and say, well, there, is a chance that they really are going to follow through with this. And in this case, 33 did follow through with it.
And maybe the mayor didn't think they would follow through.
I don't know. I think that the administration, knew what was going on in their bargaining sessions and, knew that there was distance, particularly on the issue of wages. Perhaps they did know that they certainly knew it was a possibility.
More with Danny Bauder, president of the Philadelphia Council AFL-CIO, right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent, savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
What kind of stories are you hearing from workers about how they're getting by based on the wages they have under the current contract and how hard it is for them to afford to live in the city without getting this increase that they say they need?
It's sad, frankly, that these public servants who are very professional, hardworking folks that show up day in, day out, in many cases working outside or in bad weather or in industrial conditions with interior humidity and heat and things like that, they themselves can't necessarily afford to own a home in this city. That's sad. Inflation and, these tariffs and bad trade deals and just the general greed culture that we have in America right now affect a lot of people, but the working poor are the folks that they affect the most. And so, the idea that you can clothe and house and feed yourself, for $38,000 a year.
$38,000 is a low end of these salaries?
Yeah, I believe that is where sanitation workers start. I know the average salary of a DC 33 member is $46,000, so the average isn't much higher than that. And so that's right around $20 an hour. These folks, some of them have second jobs. Some of them go home and have to apply for, some of those save benefits like SNAP or other things is, I think, insulting. Now, that is not the fault of any one specific mayor, to be clear. Those conditions existed already well before the Parker administration. But they were starting to trend in a good direction with some of the raises that they were able to get under the prior administration. And even in October of 2024, struck a deal with the Parker administration for a 1-year contract that included a 5% wage increase. And so the union came to the bargaining table after signing that 1-year contract with 5% kind of locked in as the floor. And the administration did not take that approach and immediately, with their wage proposals, went under it.
The mayor says she's being a responsible financial steward for the city, that the city can afford X number of millions of dollars a year in pay raises. What is the response to that, either publicly or at the bargaining table?
I mean, I can't speak to what the response to that is at the bargaining table, because that's where District Council 33 is. They're the ones that are at the bargaining table, not me. I'm certainly no expert on municipal finance, Matt, but I know a little bit, and I believe that there is more money available to pay these hardworking folks than perhaps maybe apparent. And, conversations that I've had with members of city council, for months leading up to and since the strike began seem to indicate that as well. I think that there is absolutely an opportunity here for the administration to really end this in a good place by proposing historically large increases, more akin to the 555 that DC 33 has been looking for, that would really underscore the mayor's rhetoric about being unapologetically pro-worker by, securing those raises for those workers.
And what did you make of Mayor Parker pointing to her home initiative? This is her plan to preserve or create tens of thousands of homes in the city as being beneficial to DC 33 workers. And therefore, I don't have money to give you a raise right now, but I am using public money to make housing more affordable so workers like you can afford to live in the city.
Well, I'll say one thing. I think the home initiative is really interesting. What I have read about it, it seems really interesting. And I want to compliment the mayor and her team on looking at both building new construction and also renovating existing dwellings in Philadelphia for affordable housing. And it could be transformational for the city. That said, the contract is really clear about what it does and does not contain. And it does not contain new initiatives and programs that a mayor or city council may create that could potentially benefit these workers. I can tell you from members of District Council 33 that I've talked to about this specifically, they've said, just give us the money so that we can, build our credit and collect a down payment so that we could then buy a house and qualify for a mortgage. And maybe the house that we're going to buy will be part of this program. But until we have more money in our pocket to pay down debt and to save for a down payment for a mortgage, it's not doing anything for us.
And these guys, when they're on strike, they're not getting paid, right? How are they?
That's right. They don't get paid.
How are they paying their bills? How are they making ends meet for the month?
I know that District Council 33 has a strike fund that's accepting donations. And so they're coming up on what'll be, I believe, the first payroll cycle without a paycheck soon. And so typically, and I don't know exactly how 33 has this set up, but typically union with a strike fund will then make, stipend payments to members of the local who are on strike, but it's certainly not going to cover somebody's whole paycheck. If you're on strike in Pennsylvania, you can't collect unemployment. I know that there has been legislation proposed to allow for that, but we're not there yet. But yeah, you're right, Matt. They are not working and not being paid, but still showing up for 8, 10, 12 hours on the picket line fighting for their jobs.
That's a sacrifice on multiple levels. You guys are providing support for their action here in what kind of ways?
In any way that they need it, frankly. When they went on strike on Monday night, Tuesday morning of last week, I ran out at 12:30 and dropped off a couple of cases of water and ponchos to striking workers at Broad and Callow Hill. And I hung out with them on the picket line for a few hours. And so we've been, individually, just as like members of the team here, have been doing things like that, dropping off supplies, helping run lunches. But we've also been working behind the scenes with District Council 33 leadership, as best we can to support them.
How does this end, Danny? What do you think happens? Does the mayor cave? Do they meet in between? Does DC 33 throw up their hands? Where does this end and how?
Well, I mean, based on everything I see, it's going to end with a fair contract. It's going to end with an agreement between the administration and District Council 33 that the union would, frankly, at this point, would, out on strike with the leverage, thinks is acceptable. How long does it take for us to get to that point where the administration puts something on the table that's going to be acceptable to the union? That I don't know.
Yeah. And when this is ultimately all resolved, there's going to be a mess out there from a sanitation perspective for those DC 33 workers who work in sanitation. I mean, has there been thought about that? Like what this is actually going to mean? I mean, the city is not going to just clean up in a day.
It'll be close to it, though. I mean, they work fast.
Okay.
I got a lot of faith in those folks.
Danny Bauder, president of the Philadelphia Council AFL-CIO. Thanks so much for coming on CityCast Philly and giving us an update on the strike.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. If you learned something from this episode about the garbage strike, share it in the group chat with your friends in Philly. Also, subscribe to our show and sign up for our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. A link is in the notes under the episode. Stay tuned to the podcast and the newsletter because we'll be covering this strike until it ends. So long.